بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. To mawqif or not to mawqif, that still is the question. In the last episode we have looked at the kalam of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah concerning the ahadith which are qat'i ad-dilala, that have an indication or an interpretation that absolutely leaves no doubt, no scope for interpretation. And here we're not talking about the difference between muhkam and mutashabih. Alright, these are all nusus muhkam texts. However, there is some room in the details for interpretation. Qitti, what's the matter today? And we have said that a lot of the ijtihad from the text, the ahadith that are not qat'i ad-dilala, where scholars can have different points of view in the interpretation of these ahadith, that this is what leads to khilafu afham. However, we see that Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah shows us that sometimes we can have ahadith that are qat'i ad-dilala, but still we have scholars that make misinterpretations of these ahadith. And he gives a number of examples about this, and I'm going to read you one of them. He says رحمه الله تعالى: كذلك قد ثبت عنه صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه لعن في الخمرة 10 عاصر الخمر ومعتصرها أو عاصر الخمر ومعتصرها وشاربها الحديث. وثبت عنه من وجوه أنه قال: كل شراب أسكر فهو خمر. وقال: كل مسكر خمر. وخطب عمر رضي الله تعالى عنه على منبره بين المهاجرين والأنصار فقال: الخمر ما خامر العقل. وأنزل الله تحريم الخمر، وكان سبب نزولها ما كانوا يشربونه في المدينة، ولم يكن لهم شراب إلا الفضيخ، ولم يكن لهم خمر من العنب شيء. So the next example is that the Prophet ﷺ, as has been authentically reported, that he has cursed 10 people in relation to khamr, alcohol. So عاصر الخمر ومعتصرها وشاربها, etc. So the عاصر الخمر is the one who is pressing the fruit in order to get the juice out, in order to make alcohol out of it, whatever alcohol that be. ومعتصرها, the mu'tasir is the one who's employing somebody else to get the job done, to get the fruit pressed in order to get the juice out of it. وشاربها, the one who's drinking it, etc. And 10 other people. وثبت عنه من وجوه, and it's also been authentically reported from different ways that he said: كل شراب أسكر فهو خمر. Any drink that makes you drunk is considered khamr. And also كل مسكر خمر, everything that makes you drunk, that makes your mind go funny, is considered khamr, alcohol. And Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu, while he was on the minbar between the muhajirin and the ansar, said that al-khamru ma khamar al-aqla. Khamr is what affects your mind. Khamara, it means like to mix up, to intertwine with something, and it's like it makes it foggy or blurry. So this is what Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah is proving here, is that khamr is not limited to a specific categories. What is taken into consideration, the illah, as we call it in fiqh, the illah is this, the fact that it affects your mind. That is khamr, not because it's out of this fruit or out of that fruit. And then Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah goes on saying that وأنزل الله تحريم الخمر. Allah has revealed the prohibition of Khamr in His book. وكان سبب نزولها. Now he says that the reason for the ayat coming down, what we call أسباب النزول in Arabic, in usul al-tafsir, is what was the event that has caused this ayah to come down. Yani why has Allah revealed this particular ayah? Allah has revealed it because of this particular event. That gives us an idea of the context, and there are many rulings that can be derived from that, including this one, where he says that, Shaykh al-Islam says that, why did Allah reveal this, or when did He reveal it? At the time of Medina. And in Medina, the only khamr that they had was what is called al-fadikh. ولم يكن لهم من خمر العنب شيء. They did not have any khamr that was made out of grapes, what we would in the West, or what we call in English wine, right? So what Shaykh al-Islam is saying that here there is no doubt, it's qat'i dilala, that khamr is not limited to wine, something made out of grapes, but it is general to anything that affects the clarity of your mind. Okay, so he says then, وَقَدْ كَانَ الرِّجَالٌ مِنْ أَفَاضِلِ الْأُمَّةِ عِلْمًا وَعَمَلًا مِنَ الْكُوفِيِّينَ يَعْتَقِدُونَ أَنَّ لَا خَمْرَ إِلَّا مِنَ الْعِنَبِ. But there were men from the most righteous people of this ummah in knowledge and deeds, from the people of Kufa. They believed, so we're talking about major scholars from Kufa, they believed that khamr was only from grapes. وَأَنَّ مَا سِوَى الْعِنَبِ مِنَ التَّمْرِ لَا يَحْرُمُ مِنْ نَبِيذِهِ إِلَّا بِمِقْدَارِ مَا يُسْكِرُ. And that anything other than grapes and dates, لا يحرم نبيذه. Like the way they used to make alcohol, and I believe that's the way it's done in the world today, I'm not really sure, but the way it was done back in those days is that they used to carve out the pumpkin, right? So you have you have a big pumpkin, you carve out the pumpkin, and then this particular it would turn into a container. They would fill that container with water and put some fruit or some fruit juice in there. And this technique is called nabidh. Is that basically you're letting fruit soak in water. And a way of doing nabidh, which is halal, as long as you're not keeping it for too long until it turns into khamr, is a way of fermenting dates. Is that you take a container of water and you put a bunch of dates in it. I would say like maybe if you have a liter of water, like a handful of dates like that, and you leave it for 1 day, 2 days, maximum 3 days. But after 2 days you'll see that there's a first stage of fermentation that has happened, and the water actually becomes slightly fizzy, and it has a very nice taste. It's something very healthy to drink. That's called nabidh al-tamr. So this way of this technique is called nabidh. So these scholars here, they say that any nabidh is halal, sorry, although nabidh, if you leave it long enough, it will turn into alcohol. All right, and especially if it's made out of pumpkin, because the fermentation process becomes very quick. It's said that within a few hours it can turn into alcohol, and this is why at some stage in the Sharia, making nabidh in pumpkin shells was completely forbidden, because the process of fermentation was so quick. So again, back to the topic. He says that nabidh is only haram if you drink from it to the point that it makes you drunk. And these people, these scholars, كانوا يشربون ما يعتقدون حله. They used to drink from this what they believe to be halal. So these scholars believe that, let's say you have a nabidh from, I don't know, apples or whatever other fruit, bananas, whatever, And if we were to analyze it, we will see that it clearly contains alcohol, and it would be in the category of any alcohol that is sold nowadays in the world. However, they believe that because it's not made from grapes or dates, that it's okay as long as you don't drink to the point that it makes you drunk. So back in this model right here, this is not khilafu afham. There is nothing to justify this qawl. Alright, as Shaykh al-Islam has clearly proved that anything that affects your mind is muskir. Okay, if you drink a little bit from it, it will not be enough to affect your mind, but the product in itself is still haram. Alright, so there is no room for khilaf here. However, Shaykh al-Islam says that these scholars, let's read what he said. فلا يجوز أن يقال إن هؤلاء مدرجون تحت الوعيد لما كان لهم من العذر الذي تأولوا به أو لموانع أخرى. So he says that we cannot say that these scholars are under the wa'id, the threat of punishment, like the Prophet ﷺ said that 10 people are cursed on the Khamr, because they made it out of mistake. They're here, they're in tabad, they are clearly clashing with qat'i proof, not ijtihadi, qat'i. They are clashing with this. However, from what we know from these scholars and these righteous people, they did not do this out of hawa. It was a genuine mistake, and human beings are just going to make mistakes. And this is something that happens with scholars. This is just one example that I'm showing you from what Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah has mentioned in this particular book. However, look what he says next. وكذلك لا يجوز أن يقال إن شراب الذي شربوه ليس من الخمر الملعون شاربها. But we do not say either, it is not permissible to say either that the drink that they have been drinking is not from Khamr, which we know the person who drinks it has been cursed. So he's saying two things. This thing is haram, right? Bidalil qat'i. There is no shadow of a doubt about this. There is no room for interpretation, no room for ijtihad. However, these scholars, from what we know from their ilm, they had a wrong ijtihad, they fell into here. So we cannot say that they are under the threat of punishment. But likewise, we cannot say that their mistake makes this thing halal. Why? Because we are in qat'i, not in ijtihadi. Okay. So now, a very important question we need to ask ourselves at this particular stage. We have understood now that when it comes down to matters of ijtihad, we cannot blame people for having a legitimate ijtihad. And we cannot blame followers for following a scholar who has a legitimate ijtihad, even if that's a different ijtihad from the scholars that we are following. This is why I remind you the way Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah opened up this book. The first thing he said after praising Allah, he spoke about the obligation of having wala for the believers. So matters of ijtihad are by no means a permission to take each other as enemies and go against this fundamental obligation of having wala for each other. Now we saw that even in cases of clear clash with the qat'i adillah from the Quran and the Sunnah, Shaykh al-Islam still says that these people are excused, these scholars are excused, right? But that does not make their fatwa legitimate. So the question we need to ask ourselves right here is, what then is a ta'ifa? What is all this fuzz and buzz about, the 73 sects, etc.? Well, first of all, the matter of the 73 sects is all about this. unlike the examples that Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala has mentioned, the sects, they're not in a one-off mistake. You see, these scholars from Kufa, they are upon sound methodology of dealing with the Quran and the Sunnah. So this matter here, they have misused their own correct tools and fell into mistake through that. This is a one-off. It's a far off, but it's still a one-off. And it can be a one-off and a two-off and a three-off. This just happens. However, with the sects, we see that it's not a one-off. We see that at these levels, whether it be in fiqh, whether it be in aqidah, whether it be in the way they deal with hadith, whether it be in the tafsir of the Quran, we see that, and even other things, matters of ibadah, etc., which to a great point come back to fiqh and are somehow spread out between these types of knowledge. We see that here we have an end product, whether it be an action, a belief, an explanation of an ayah, etc., that is clashing with the Quran and the Sunnah. But we see that it's not because of a one-off. We see that here we have a deeper issue. So what we see here, the end product, that's the tip of the iceberg. The submerged part of the iceberg that we don't see is far bigger, and that goes back to the usul of what we would call manhaj. This is why I repeat, this idea that there is a scholar specialized in manhaj more than another one is batil. This is just a shubha that people use to get their way and to trying to force people to follow their scholar and refuse matters that they're not allowed to refuse. Alright? Because a scholar in fiqh needs to have manhaj in order to extract rulings from the Quran and the Sunnah in fiqh. He needs to have strong manhaj in order to extract matters of aqidah from the Quran and the Sunnah. A scholar of hadith needs to have sound manhaj in order to deal with the ahadith of the Sunnah, select them and explain them. Alright? A scholar of tafsir needs to have sound manhaj in order to work with the Quran and the Sunnah together to give explanation of the Quran. So there is no way that you're going to be a faqih without having an extremely strong foundation in manhaj. There is no way that you're going to be a well-renowned scholar talking about aqidah, like for example in this day and age Sheikh Saleh al-Sheikh and Sheikh al-Fawzan, without being extremely strong in manhaj. There is no way that you're going to be a muhaddith, right? And also have a lot of kalam in aqidah, like for example Sheikh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, without having an extremely strong basis in manhaj. Alright? Likewise, if you are pretty weak in all of this and you barely have any lessons about anything, it is pretty clear that you don't have a clue about manhaj, because that is your barrier between the mushaf and the compilation of ahadith and coming down to a usable piece of knowledge that can be applied in daily life. So, back to it. These sects, for example, we have briefly talked about the Sophia earlier on, and I should mention that I have given the example of praying towards a grave. The Sophia are not all on the same level. The Sophia is quite a wide spectrum, and the most hardcore Sufis, like Al-Jufri in Hadramaut, who openly worships grave, etc., they're one extreme, and there are lighter Sufis spread out throughout the world. We can't just throw them in the same bag. We have to be a bit more nuanced in the way we deal with people. So again, the sects, we see that in the end product, in matters of aqidah, we have something that goes far away from the qat'i matters of the Quran and the Sunnah, and we see that it's not a one-off. We see that they have actually reshuffled a whole bunch of matters here in order to get their way. One example that I have given you is the way the Sufis, like we have taken the example from the book of Qawa'id al-Fiqh, that ibadat is tawqifi, that we do not do anything in ibadah except for what Allah and His Messenger have legislated. The Sufis, they don't have this as an asl. So you see, this is an issue that here that enables them to go to another source. And how will they justify this? Through mutashabih from the Quran and the Sunnah. Okay. So, coming into our modern day Su'fuqi mawqif story. And Nadeem, who is trying to turn away my students from me, and Abu Yahya Farhat Abbas, who I'm trying to explain this matter in my messages to him, please pay close attention now, guys. This is now very important for you to understand. In your whole little warfare, fuzz and buzz that's going on in the world today, that has barely left any community unaffected in the world, and all your hashtags and your posts and your Sheikh Amjad Rafiq's PDFs that are flying through the world, I'm asking you a very simple question. You are warning against me and you are warning against my wife because we refuse to indulge in your little warfare. We refuse to take a mawqif. You claim that it's obligatory upon every Muslim to declare Muhammad bin Hadi to be a deviant. I am asking you, where did Muhammad bin Hadi clash with the Quran and the Sunnah according to your understanding? I personally know he has in certain matters. That's why I don't really study with him or don't deal with him in any way. I'm asking you a very simple question. Where is the clash with the Quran and the Sunnah? In your particular matter here, the Su'fuqi stuff. Not other matters, right? Because these other matters, I will explain them later on in videos to come, inshallah ta'ala. I'm asking you, in your little warfare right now, where is the clash? Where are we talking about Quran and Sunnah? Where are we talking about masail qat'iyya from the Shari'iyya that Muhammad bin Hadi went against, and that Muslims around the world have to say, oh, Muhammad bin Hadi, he has opposed the Sunnah and kada wa kada wa kada, and based on that we are cutting him out. Can you explain that to us, please? Because right now all that we have seen is qila wa qal. Yeah, on that day this, and they said that, and then they said such and such and such and such and such. Sheikh Muqbil rahimahullah ta'ala has described the da'wah salafiyya. He says it's a da'wah min kitabillah ila kitabillah. We use the book of Allah, the methodology, to call the people to the book of Allah. That's the da'wah salafiyya. You people, your da'wah is from qila wa qal to qila wa qal. Your whole fitna here, the only thing that you have is qila wa qal. On that day he said, and in this video, and they claimed, and in that meeting, and such and such and such. And what do you want us to do? You want us also to be in this kind of stuff. No, he is no good because, and Sheikh Fulan said, and da, 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 da. People. And then I'm going to show you now how the scholars of the Sunnah deal with deviance of this type. And this is also something I tried to make you understand, Ya Aba Yahya, but you just don't seem to be getting it. So, I have here a little selection of books that are rudud, refutations of scholars of the Sunnah upon mukhalifin, people that are at this level, right, that have matters in fiqh and aqidah, hadith and tafsir that are wrong, but they're not a one-off. They are the tip of the iceberg, and underneath the surface we have a whole messing around here in order to distort what has been authentically and qat'i reported in the Quran and the Sunnah, revealed in the Quran and reported in the Sunnah. Right? So the first book I'm going to be looking at is a wonderful little book called Al-Qawl Al-Sadid في الرد على من أنكر تقسيم التوحيد. So this book is written by our beloved Sheikh Abdul Razak Ibn Abdul Muhsin Al-Abbad. I have never studied with Sheikh Abdul Razak, but he is a lovely individual who is putting a lot of effort into teaching and spreading knowledge, unlike other people. So let's see his methodology of dealing with this particular individual who has claimed that categorizing Tawheed into three categories, it's the equivalent of Trinity, of the Trinity of the Christian. I mean, whoever knows what the Trinity of the Christian is about already is a bit shocked that anybody would claim such nonsense. However, this book is very, very, very interesting in that sense. So, we have the introduction where he brings naql of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. It's interesting, where he says, gives Ibn Taymiyyah's fatwa about the importance of refuting falsehood. Right? So, we're not talking about here all of this, we're not talking about watering down falsehood. That's not what we're about, by no means. Right? As a matter of fact, with this we're trying to repel some falsehood. So looking at how did Shaykh Abdul Razak refute this particular mukhalif in this book. We see that first of all, as you just like randomly go through the book, you see that Shaykh Abdul Razak tells you وَقَالَ الْكَاتِبِ, yani the writer said. He refers to him as the writer because he refutes an article or a book by this guy. And then he brings a quote that's fairly long, right? Now these quotes that he brings, they are quotes that show clearly what this guy is upon. It's not something that he might have said in a conversation or in a lecture, or something where he might have a slip of the tongue or just wrongly expressed himself. No. This is clear kalam, and there is so much of it because there's so many quotes that shows you that this is what this particular individual is upon. It's not like your man Amjad Rafiq and other people from your crew that are claiming people said certain things that are ambiguous. I'll grant you that are ambiguous in some cases, not in every case, but in some cases that are ambiguous. However, we see that from all the other stuff that this person is saying, that he doesn't mean the wrong meaning of what this ambiguous qawl implies. Right? Now, this qawl is wrong. The way he formulated is wrong. Yes. However, you can't say that because he made a statement that, is also made by, let's say, the Ikhwan, as they're your favorite target, that this particular individual is Ikhwani. That is, of course, if this statement is aslan from the matters where the Ikhwan have gone astray, because we'll analyze some of that stuff, inshallah ta'ala, in further videos, and we see that there is a lot of kalam about that as well. So where I'm getting at, people, is that the methodology of the scholars is to first of all bring you clear proof for their claim that this people is upon such a methodology which is not correct. Right? That this particular person is mukhalif, is clashing with the Quran and the Sunnah, and this and this and this. They prove that. They don't just state that or claim that. They bring you massive proof from that. And then they go on giving you explanations with ayat, with ahadith, with kalam of the scholars, with shuruhat from the, well-known books like Ibn Kathir, like Fath al-Bari, etc., etc., etc. That's the methodology of the scholars. So this is just one book by Shaykh Abdul Razak, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala. Other book, هذه مفاهيمنا by Shaykh Salih al-Shaykh, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala. One of the greatest scholars on the face of the earth today. Alright? So this particular book here is a response to Sufi. And again, we see, so we have a brief introduction, just a few pages of introduction, and then here we go. Now, chapter 1. What does chapter 1 start with? Qala al-Katib. The guy said, right? Page 45. Right? Page 45. الوسيلة كل ما جعله الله سببا في الزلفى عنده ووسيلة إلى قضاء الحوائج. Again, it is a quote by this guy, and here it's a definition that this guy gives. So that's something profound. Okay, it shows you what he is upon, and then you have the rad ilmi. All right, you have first of all, he starts, like the two sentences in this particular statement. The first sentence means kada wa kada. He's going into details, and then he has, right? You see this ayat in the rad. There is kalam of the scholars. There is, that's all upon those two lines. Okay, here we have the next one. وقال الكاتب صفحة 44. Another statement. So once again, we see that there is a collection of statements where they show you that this guy is clearly not in a one-off in many matters. It's a deep issue. So he says that here. There's a clash at this level, it's a clash of tabad. This is the wrong statement. This is the reason behind it. And the truth is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the methodology of the scholars. Look who we have here. Sheikh Rabi' ibn Hadi al-Madkhali. Right? His famous book, Manhaj al-Anbiya fi Da'wati ila Allah. Very good book. Very good book. Written maybe something like 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Right? This is the kind of work that earned Shaykh Rabi' the praise of other scholars. I repeat, it's for this kind of work that Shaykh Rabi' has been praised by other scholars. Let's compare his work 20 years ago with that su'fuqi stuff that you guys are trying to push on the ummah today. Alright? So just randomly opening a page. Okay, here he makes a taqrir ilmi, right? Going back to the story of Musa and Fir'aun, he has some ilmi kalam here. You see there's ayat, there's kalam of ulama. It's quite good. Let's go back a bit. Here's all taqrir, some masail. So there's ilm in here. Okay, he's actually laying a foundation of ilm in order to then refute the people that he's refuting in his book, this particular book, which are Sayyid Qutb, Mawdudi, and these kind of people, the people that are into political da'wah. So, at the beginning of the book, Shaykh Rabi' makes certain claims in his introduction about the da'awat of the political orientated groups, Ikhwan Muslimin like groups, Jama'at al-Islamiyya in Asia, Abu al-Ala al-Mawdudi and all these people. So he makes a certain number of claims about them, and then he backs up his claims by quotes. Alright? Now, some might argue that these quotes are maybe somewhat taken out of context, but they are so clear that, for example, مودودي says إن مسألة القيادة والزعامة إنما هي مسألة المسائل في الحياة الإنسانية وأصل أصولها. Said that the issue of leadership is the absolute issue, the most important one that is at the foundation of humanity. I mean, so that is a pretty clear statement that gives that sheds light on the ideology. All right, and he brings other quotes. وَيَقُولُ أَيْضًا. Right, so there are lots of quotes from the person that they're refuting, and then there is a ilmi refutation following up. You see, that's okay. Here we have the taqdeem of Shaykh al-Fawzan, hafidhahullah ta'ala. طيب. And then we have taqrir ilmi, right? It's organized in chapters. It has a clear sort of, path that it follows in order to make us understand certain masail and give us clarity on why something is wrong and what is the right way to follow. So as I said, you see, this is the kind of work that Shaykh Rabi' got praised for by the scholars. Ikhwan, where is that? Where is this from what's going on today? Be dead honest with yourselves now. Right? Abu Yahya, you getting me? Nadeem, you guys understanding what I mean when, your fitna is based on Kalam Fadi only? He's a Sha'fuk! No, it's not me, it's you, Sheikh Alan, it's you! Hashtag, blah, blah, blah. Guys, be serious 5 minutes. That's what you want for the ummah. That's what you're teaching. It's actually amazing that by now you still have followers that haven't woken up. That is really, really, really the shocking part. And that is the tip of an iceberg right there. What have you been teaching your followers all these years for this thing to come and then following you in that? Wallahi, it's just mind-boggling, really. Look here. شرح السنة للإمام البربحاري. Alright? Inshallah ta'ala, we'll talk more about that book in another video. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Let's see Al-Imam al-Barbahari. Now obviously this is a book that differs from these books. These are clear-cut rudud ala al-mukhalifin. So I've shown you that the scholars that make rudud, they bring a clear point. Where is the khilaf? And then they bring you a rad to show you that this khilaf is not a khilaf afham, but that this is not matters of ijtihad, this is matters that are going against qat'i matters of the deen. Alright? Let's look at Imam al-Barbahari. Now obviously this is Sharh al-Sunnah, it's just bullet points. It's a very short book, it's really no big deal. But anyway, so for example, here what we have, so قال ابن المبارك أصل 72 هوى 4 أهواء فمن هذه الأربعة انشعبت هذه 72 هوى القدرية والمرجئة والشيع والخوارج. Okay, so he says those are the main sects of Islam according to Ibn al-Mubarak, which have then split into the 72 sects. Okay, so going down a bit, for example, when he's talking about the Shia, بدعة ظهرت وهي كفر بالله العظيم من قال بها فهو كافر لا شك فيه من يؤمن بالرجعة ويقول علي بن أبي طالب حي سيرجع يوم القيامة ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وتكلموا في الإمامة أنهم يعلمون الغيب فاحذرهم فإنهم كفار بالله العظيم ومن قال بهذا القول. So he's saying a bid'ah that has appeared now from the Shia, and it is clear-cut apostasy, it's kufr, disbelief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the qawl bil raj'ah, the return. So whoever claims that Ali ibn Abi Talib is alive, and that he will come back Yawm al-Qiyamah, as well as Muhammad ibn Ali and Ja'far ibn Muhammad and Musa ibn Ja'far, and they also speak about al-Imama, that these ai they know al-ghaib, they know the unseen, past, future, present, etc., from things that human beings can't know. فَحَذَرْهُمْ فَإِنَّهُمْ كُفَّارٌ. Stay away from them because they are kuffar. So again, ikhwan, we see that Imam al-Barbahari, he brings proof for his claim. There is a substance, there is a topic of khilaf. And the topic of khilaf is related to the Quran and the Sunnah. Not to fulan bi su'fuq or allan bi musaffiq, or all these fancy terms that you guys come up with in your hashtags and whatnot. Okay? These matters, they go back to here. The rest, anybody transgressing against your buddies, guys, we don't care. Abu Yahya, do you get it now? Nadeem, do you get it? When I told you in that meeting in Mecca, when I told your Sheikh, why are you busying the people with that stuff? Huh? And then you go around and say, oh, Abdullah, he has shubuhat, and the Sheikh dealt with his shubuhat. When I told your Sheikh that we have some serious issues in the West, we have people falling off, and every time we're spreading these fitna, we have people falling off. Right? We are dealing with mass apostasy in the Muslim communities. And then your Sheikh, what did he answer me? Just for people know why I'm acting a bit funny. So his Sheikh answered, saying that when there is a boat on the sea, and it's navigating, and then a storm comes up, and you have lots of little boats that pop up on the horizon, they start firing at this boat. What is this boat going to do? Is it going to fire back? Nadeem, that's the manhaj of the Salaf for you? The story of the boat on the sea? Guys, that's a dalil for you? That, to you guys, this is manhaj. The boat on the sea. Ikhwan, what do you do with the hadith of Aisha in which the Prophet Muhammad, which she said about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Man taqama Rasulullah li nafsihi qat sallallahu alaihi wasallam inna illa an tuntahak hurumatullahi fayantaqimu lillah." Huh? What do you guys do with that? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam never avenged himself. He only took revenge when the prohibitions of Allah were transgressed, or the hurumat of Allah, the sanctities of Allah were transgressed. He would take revenge for Allah. What is your little fitna about here? As you actually mentioned as the Shaykh mentioned in his little story with the boat. Avenging yourselves. Where are you from the qawl Allah Ta'ala, فَمَنْ عَفَا وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ? Al-Imam al-Awza'i rahimahullah ta'ala, he said an amazing word. He said, إِذَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ شَرًّا أَلْقَى فِيهِمُ الْجَدَلْ وَمَنَعَهُمُ الْعَمَلِ. That's profound, people. If Allah wants bad for a people as a punishment for things that they have done, أَلْقَى فِيهِمُ الْجَدَلْ, He will throw arguments and disputes amongst them, وَمَنَعَهُمَ الْعَمَلِ, and He will prevent them from doing good deeds. So, people, can you see the manhaj of the ai in dealing with khilaf, in dealing with people that go against the qat'i, in dealing with people that use mutashabih to go against the Quran and Sunnah? Can you see the way they deal with that? And compare that to this whole su'fuqi thing. Compare that to the PDFs of your man Amjad Rafiq. And we shall analyze some of them inshallah ta'ala in future videos. You know, ikhwan, inshallah ta'ala, I think we're going to stop here for this particular video, and we'll see what's going to come in the very near future, inshallah ta'ala. But there is more to come. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.